Kishane Thompson now, storming forward. Kishane Thompson and Team Blake, and they make it safe.
In terms of what's going to stop me, I'm the only one that can stop me. I don't say that to brag.
Thompson's on the way forward. Kishane Thompson in control. And Team Blake.
Ladies and gentlemen, what unfolded on the Tokyo track was nothing short of breathtaking. A clash so intense, so razor-thin that it left officials, fans, and even the athletes themselves in disbelief. Imagine the sound of the crowd exploding as Kishane Thompson, Jamaica's rising sprint phenomenon, and Kenny Bednarek, America's powerhouse sprinter, tore down the straightaway like two bullets released at the same instant. Step for step, stride for stride, neither man gave an inch. Their eyes locked, not on each other, but on the white tape stretched across the finish. And then, in the blink of an eye, the impossible happened. They crossed the line together, both clocking the exact same time, 9.85 seconds, identical down to the thousandth. For a sport defined by fractions of moments, this wasn't just rare, it was historic, a scene that will be replayed for years. The question wasn't just who won the race, it was whether sprinting itself had just witnessed a new rivalry to define an era, one that pits Jamaica's future against America's present. And if this was just a semi-final, what chaos, what drama, what electricity would be unleashed in the final still to come? Coming into this heat, the stakes could not have been higher. For Kishane Thompson, every step on the track now carries the weight of a nation desperate for the next great icon. The man who might just take Jamaica back to the golden era once ruled by Usain Bolt. He's young, he's fearless, and his effortless stride has already made coaches and analysts whisper that he might be the one to chase records once thought untouchable. On the other side stood Kenny Bednarek, no longer just the 200-meter silver medalist, but a sprinter carving out his own place in the 100-meter wars. Bednarek's season has been a statement of intent, consistent, powerful, with the kind of technical precision that makes him a danger every time he steps on the track. The semifinals weren't just about qualifying, they were about proving dominance, about planting a flag before the showdown in the final. With automatic qualification on the line, both Thompson and Bednarek knew there was no room for hesitation, no space for slip-ups. This wasn't about time anymore, it was about respect, about national pride, about who would walk into the final as the man to beat. When the silence broke and the gun fired, the reaction time was everything. Thompson's start was crisp, explosive, with the kind of acceleration that instantly told the world he meant business. His body leaned forward like a coiled spring released, each stride unfolding smoother than silk. Bednarek, known for his consistency out of the blocks, matched him nearly step for step, driving his powerful frame through the first 30 meters with a technical perfection that spoke of hours spent in relentless training. Around them, names like Arnold Hughes, Jerome Blake, and even the dangerous Ferdinando Manuela all pushed desperately to stay in the mix. But within seconds, it was clear. The real story was unfolding in lanes side by side. Two men, two nations locked in a sprinting duel that already had the Tokyo crowd on its feet. The difference was microscopic, and as they surged forward, you could feel the tension rising with every strike of the track. Fans knew they weren't just watching another heat, they were witnessing a statement being made in real time. By the halfway mark, Thompson and Bednarek had separated themselves from the field in a way that was both commanding and terrifying for their rivals. At 50 meters, they were already shoulder to shoulder, their strides eating up ground with identical rhythm, the kind of symmetry you rarely see outside of a photo finish. Thompson's relaxed, almost effortless motion belied the speed he was generating, his tall frame floating yet driving with deadly efficiency. Bednarek, shorter, stockier, but no less lethal, churned through the air with raw power, each step like a hammer blow to the track. Behind them, the rest of the field could only chase shadows. Jerome Blake pushing, Omanula straining, but all eyes, every camera, every heart in the stadium was locked on the two men in front. It felt like destiny unfolding stride by stride, as if the race had stripped itself down to its purest form. Two men, one lane of history, and no room for anyone else. The crowd roared louder with every meter, sensing this wasn't about qualifying anymore. It was about legacy. And then came the final meters, the stretch that separates legends from the rest. Thompson, calm as ever, leaned into his top speed. that fluid stride carrying him with frightening ease toward the line. Bednarek, face tightened in pure focus, refused to yield, his body straining forward with the kind of hunger only a man desperate to prove himself can summon. The two crossed the finish line in what felt like the same heartbeat. And for a moment, the stadium didn't know what had just happened. Fans looked to the big screen waiting for confirmation. The clock flashed. 9.85. Both names. The same time. The same thousandth. It was as if the laws of timing themselves had broken down, leaving even the officials scrambling. Track is built on precision, on technology designed to measure the tiniest fractions of human performance. Yet here it was. Two men so perfectly matched that even the machines couldn't tell them apart. A gasp rippled through the crowd, because this wasn't just a race, it was a dead heat of destiny. For Kishane Thompson, this performance was another brick in the towering reputation he's building. Jamaica has been searching for its next sprinting king ever since Bolt hung up his spikes, and Thompson is quickly emerging as the heir apparent. But this wasn't just about qualifying, it was about showing that he could go stride for stride with the very best in the world and not blink. His 9.85 wasn't just fast. It was a declaration, a signal to rivals and fans alike that Jamaica's legacy is alive and dangerous. In a country where sprinting is more than sport, where it is national identity, Thompson is carrying expectations that could crush a lesser athlete. Yet he wears them lightly, delivering performances that mix grace with devastation. The whispers are growing louder now. Could this young man be the one to chase the untouchable 9.58, the mark left behind by Bolt? If he can stare down Kenny Bednarek in a moment like this, what could he unleash when the final gun goes off and everything is on the line? For Kenny Bednarek, this race was validation on the grandest stage. For years, he's been seen as a 200-meter man, respected but not feared in the shorter dash. But this was different. Matching Thompson blow for blow in the purest race of all proves Bednarek is not just a specialist, but a true sprinting force. His 9.85 ties him to history, pushing his name into conversations once reserved for America's sprinting greats. And beyond the numbers, this was psychological warfare. Bednarek staring down the rising Jamaican star and refusing to back off. For the US, his performance was a rallying cry, a reminder that American sprinting isn't just surviving but thriving, capable of producing warriors who can challenge Jamaica's dominance head-on. He has now carved himself into the rivalry that track and field needs, the storyline that electrifies fans. If Thompson is the future, Bednarek is the immovable obstacle standing in his way, and this race proved he has no intention of stepping aside quietly. And now, everything turns to the final, the stage where history will be decided. Thompson walks in carrying the hopes of Jamaica, the whispers of Bolt's shadow, and the belief of fans who see in him the future of sprinting. Bednarek arrives with fire in his chest, determined to prove that America's sprinters are still the standard, still the ones who rise when the world is watching. The rivalry has been set, not over months or years, but in the space of a few heartbeats on that Tokyo track. The final is no longer just a race. It is a showdown of nations, of generations, of two men who have already delivered the impossible, and now must deliver the unforgettable. If the semifinal ended in chaos, the final will end in clarity, because one thing is certain. In less than 10 seconds, the world will know who truly owns the 100 meters.